to believe by going through the system that I would never amount to anything because I didn't do well in the system. Right. Now, as I'm older, I'm like, I'm glad I didn't do well in the system because I'd probably be in debt at a job I hate, not knowing what other options there are, not knowing that there is this amazing life out there where I can literally create my own reality.
Yeah.
And
you created your own system at this point.
Exactly. Yeah. And everybody can. I mean,
what's going on, everyone? Welcome to Deep MCs, the podcast that seeks to push meaningful conversation to a whole new level. Whether it's for your entertainment or your personal growth, we appreciate you being here today. And now, on to the show. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Deep MCs. Today, we have something special for you guys. We were able to get Colin from the Better Human podcast to join us. Colin, what's going on, man? How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, man. I appreciate you being on. It's kind of interesting that we've come across and been able to kind of get this together. I didn't know you when I started using your products. So yeah. It's interesting. I was looking for a supplement to really just kind of work into my day-to-day. And as I was doing my research, I started to see this company pop up quite a bit. Wild Foods. I'm like, okay, I need to check this out, right? So I started out taking the D3K2. Mm-hmm. Still take it to this day. Then somehow I added in elderberry vitamin C. Start taking that as well. By the way, so everybody's listening, this is not paid product placement. This is this is real life, right? Colin hasn't given me shit. And then after that, I started taking wild turmeric, and then I started doing the cocotropic, with the chaga mushrooms. Then I started working in the cocoa powder. So in the mornings when I make my protein, I use the cocoa powder. And then I was like, you know what would spice this up? Vanilla. So I use the vanilla powder as well. And
that's
then
the plan, is get you hooked on one,
bro,
right?
So at the end of the day, long story short, I take about seven of your products now. And I'm like, holy shit, like this, whoever owns this company is consuming a large portion of my life. That's what it boils down to. And then I try to do a little bit of research and everything, and I started to see you pop up with your letters that you send out. Which, by the way, hopefully we can jump into the one you sent today. I just looked through that; it was awesome as well. But I was like, dude, this is a very interesting guy. And then I started looking to you more on a personal level, and I guess some may call you controversial. I just say polarizing, right? But at the end of the day, whatever you want to call yourself, the crypto king, the sultan of supplements. I mean, I don't know, man. But long story short, who are you for the people that don't know, and how did you get it first into the supplement world?
Yeah, that's like a long winding story, and I appreciate that. And I also, I tell people that I'm like an ethical drug dealer where I get you hooked on one good, clean product, and then I want you to try the others, and you just get addicted to that and addicted to that, except these products make you better, make you healthier, Yeah. So, I mean, it's a long winding journey to get here. And controversial is a funny word. I mean, I'm definitely polarizing,
for sure,
but I'm a freedom maximalist. I'm a human maximalist. Like, I want the best for humanity, right? So like, while I might come off online sometimes being a little bit aggressive, right? Yeah, I'm just here to promote first principles thinking and just big ideas that stand the test of time, rather than this kind of like constant dopamine spiking, headline sensationalist nonsense based on clicks and getting attention, right? It's rotting our collective human consciousness on a daily basis. And so I just speak out against a lot of that and just try to get down to first principles, like what's truth, what's not going to change in 50 years, 100 years, because those are the things I want to spend time on.
Yeah, man. I agree with you on that quite a bit, and it's interesting that you say that, and I would definitely say polarizing is the best word to describe it. But I don't see necessarily anything wrong with what you're doing. I've always been curious though, like how, and maybe it's a personal question, whatever, but how do you feel like that, who you are as a person, integrates and affects your business? Do you find that pulls more people to it, or do you find that kind of pushes people away? Like,
the question was, how does my personal kind of belief system and perspective seep into the business?
Yeah.
And it definitely seeps into the business a lot, actually. Like I said, principles. You take care of your customers, even when they're being ridiculous, because you're going to have ridiculous customers. That's fine. And you do your best to just make them feel taken care of. In fact, what's interesting about business is a lot of time customers with their outrageous demands, they just want somebody to listen to them.
For sure.
They don't even necessarily care if you give them what they want. They just want an ear, you know, or they want somebody to talk to or whatever. So I definitely try to get that through into the business, get into the marketing about principles like what we're about, health, longevity, really high quality ingredients, sourcing from nature, like having that obsessive standard for sourcing, and then just sticking to that consistently, you know, and kind of hooking people one product at a time, as you said, you know, just like that. And then I would say like some of my ideas around mindset and growth, building that business, which, you know, I don't know if you know the story, but it's basically bootstrapped. I bought some whey protein for myself, big bulk bags. And I was like, maybe I'll sell this online. People might want it. And they did. And then that first year we went from like $500 a month selling Amazon out of my 1-bedroom apartment in Austin to $500,000 the first year, $1 million the next year, and then just on and on and on. And we grew.
So going into that, and you talked about the customer service and making sure that that's on point. And I will say, I'm kind of trying to help you sell here, not intentionally, but one thing that I did notice is that, you know, there is always an element of service with your products. I know, and I think I want to say on my first order that I got, you know, it came with, you know, there was like a card, and then there was the sticker, and there was like thank you, and there was the free item that came with it. You know, I think I have more packets of Himalayan salt than I know what to do.
You got to use it up.
Yeah. I mean, I give it out to people, you know, I'm like, here, check this out.
Exactly. That's
you know,
the point. You're like the model customer, because like you do everything that I want my customers to do.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I mean, there's definitely, I mean, even I want to say that there was an issue where you were out of something online, and I ordered it from Amazon because that was the other, for whatever reason it was in stock in Amazon, but it wasn't on the Wild Foods. I try to go directly through you as much as I can. I don't know if that helps you or hurts you.
It does. We appreciate that. But sometimes we run out of stock into stock issues because of that.
For sure. So I went from there, and the Amazon order didn't come through, I want to say, and I reached out to somewhere, I don't know, but like within a day or so, like you had sent me another, I don't know if it was you, whoever packed it up, sent me another, like instantly, right? And gave me like a free one on top of that. And it wasn't even like, you know, whatever, it's like nothing. And that goes a long way. And that's like, for me, it solidifies like, okay, I'm fucking with this guy. Like whoever he is, I'm fucking with him. Like, and I will stick with that. And I stand by that. And if people ask me, hey, do you know this or whatever? I mean, I'll put them on Wild Foods for sure. Like you have to, right? That, and you have good branding, bro. Like bottles, packaging. It's clean. I like it.
Thank you.
And then, I think we lost you
I'm
for
back.
something. Yeah, you're back.
So on that's a good teachable moment about the packaging. So every time we put a label order early on in the business, I made changes to the label. So it's kind of an iterative process.
Right.
But I mean, I basically taught myself Adobe Illustrator so that I wouldn't have to go back and forth with a designer, because like I'd send an update and they get back to me in 24 hours because they're probably in Bulgaria or whatever, where my designer was. Right. And I was like, I'm just gonna teach myself this. And by having that kind of constant iteration mindset, improvement. Every time we did a label order, a new bottle run or whatever, little improvement. And then finally we kind of honed in on like I don't want to say perfect, because there's always room for improvement, but like as close to perfect as possible. And now we have a standard template where if we want to launch a new product, it's kind of the same thing and we change a few things, right? But that took, 4 years of just adding, subtracting, fixing, upgrading, you know? And it's that Japanese concept, Kaizen, which basically means constant improvement. It's like every time you have a chance to improve, even if it's a small thing, goes a long way. So that's another one of those kind of principled manifestations of mindset, like from me, the founder, that goes into the business that you see in ways you don't expect.
Right. No, it's huge, man, and the work shows. So I mean, I'm sure you probably hear it, but you know, we're telling you as well that it shows, it's appreciated, and it goes a long way, man. So
yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I love hearing that, because you don't hear it very often. You usually hear the complaints, right? You hear like the problems, the things that go wrong. You don't always hear the gratitude and things like that. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, 100%, man, 100%. So do we get a sneak peek of where the company is going? Like, or where do you see this going and growing from this point?
That actually would require a long conversation, because I've ran into some issues. I brought in a partner, and long story short, I brought in a partner 2 years ago, and it didn't go the way it was supposed to. Operational control, because that was part of the deal. I didn't want to do all the accounting, supply chain, all that different stuff. So it was like, you're gonna take a bunch off my plate, give me some cash. I can do my marketing, my podcast, kind of do my passion stuff. And it's supposed to work out. We're going to grow the company. It's going to be amazing.
Right.
And then it didn't work out that way. And so now I'm in the process of potentially getting the company back, or at least restructuring that deal.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a holding phase, right? So most of what I've done and what the company's done is we just kind of consolidated, focused on our core customers and our core products, and just keep servicing them to the best of our ability to kind of get through whatever this is. And so it's hard to say like what the future is, because I don't know. But at the very least, the future is to continually provide the best products to people like yourself, like those core wild customers. Like I'll do that forever, basically.
Right. So on a personal level, I mean, and just from looking through people that follow you, I mean, you see the things that you say, but also you see the things that you do. So you are big behind the cryptocurrencies and the Bitcoins, but you also have a nice stash of food, right? You have it, but never hope to have to use it, right? So
that's right.
In your mind, obviously you see things and you plan for whatever it is. Like, do you ever find yourself like mentally conflicting, right? Because you have to be part of the machine to kind of grow this business, but at the same time, like your thoughts kind of sit outside of that. Like how does that work for you?
Yeah. You opt into the system in ways that are beneficial to you, and you opt out of ways, the things that you don't agree with, right? So I live in Austin, Texas, right? It's a major metropolitan city. And we have, some food, water, extra supplies, as you mentioned, in case there is a catastrophic outage or whatever. And that's not really something that I think is going to happen. But when you have kids, especially when you have kids, you kind of have to plan for it, right? Because you don't want to be in that situation where you're like, I grew up in Florida, and when hurricanes would show up, everybody would go to the store and they'd wait in line at the gas station. It's like, why don't you just like keep some in your garage so you don't have to do that? I don't want to be the guy ever that's stuck landlocked trying to get resources when everyone else is trying to get resources, or the food supply chains break down, or the grid breaks down, or whatever, right? And we had Snowmageddon here in Austin last year. It's like the worst storm in 100 years or whatever. We were out of power for 9 days, right? And we had freezing temperatures. We had a newborn. We were basically resorted to burning IKEA furniture for firewood because we couldn't even get firewood. Like that's how bad it got.
Wow.
And we're just eating out of canned food and like whatever. So yeah, so that experience in Austin was just kind of a wake-up call, to prepare. I mean, things can break down very quickly.
Yeah.
I think people don't realize that. I don't think people realize how fragile supply chains are, how fragile the grid is, how fragile relying on the system is. And so you prepare yourself, and then you live your day-to-day life and you enjoy the conveniences of society, right? But you don't have to worry, be afraid, whatever. So I'm not full-blown prepper, digging trenches like bunkers, living in the woods.
There's no bus in your backyard buried somewhere, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I mean, now don't get me wrong. Eventually in the future, if I have the funds, I'm going all out, right? But a little bit of prep, like a few $1,000 in food and water, it's like that could be the difference between life and death. So you just have to do it. And that's kind of my philosophy on that. Like, enjoy society and conveniences of all these things, but prepare for worst case. And it's the only actual insurance that you're probably ever going to need, or not probably, hopefully you don't need it, but if you have it when you need it, it's, life or death in some instances.
No, for sure, man. And it's very refreshing to hear you say this. We have a very like mindset when it comes to that. I mean, people that generally know me, they always know there's always a shit ton of water stacked somewhere. There's always food. There's always this. There's always that. And it's for the same reasons, right? And when we've had the hurricanes that have happened here and the storms we've had here, I'm just like, guys, who's laughing now, right? I was crazy before, but now I'm sitting back. I don't have to run out and be in the craziness to deal with everything that's going on, man. That's good. And I think, and I would hope that more people would fall in line with that. I think you do a good job with that, with your podcast and with your newsletters and stuff that you put out there and putting that information out there. Do you feel that is that taken off how you would like? Like, what is your response to the things that you're putting out? Like, is it more for a core set of the people that are following you, or do you feel like you're getting a lot of new people jumping on and becoming a part of what you're trying to do? Yeah,
definitely. Now if you're on my newsletter, it's because you want to be there, right? Like, I got all of the lurkers out because they like the first few emails when I started going pretty hard on some of the current events was like, F you this, that, like I got a lot of, quote unquote hate, and those people just unsubscribe. Right. And so it's like one of these weird things that you get with the internet is you get an echo chamber, right? You can't really help it because people follow what they want to hear and what they want to follow, and they unfollow, block, or just otherwise don't pay attention to things they don't want to receive. Right. So it's kind of one of the unintended consequences of the polarizing echo chamber nature of the internet that I don't know. I don't know what the solution for that is really, like, because we do want healthy debate and we do want to reach people that might have different ideas. We want to discuss with them and talk with them. And instead it becomes like an us versus them tribalism nonsense, right? Which is basically the worst parts of human nature that I'm very well aware of as I've studied evolutionary psychology. Like I know how brutal humans can be. I mean, look at history to see how just bad it can get, And so I don't know what the answer is to that, but the answer is that most of the people that follow me now, like, get what the message is, and it's mostly just like reinforcing those things. So I love to reach new people, but it's just not as much of a concern for me. I just kind of put it out there for myself. It's more of just like an outlet to express myself, and in some ways a therapy to just like get out of my head.
Yeah.
What developed your foundational principles? Like where did you to get to the point where you are today? What was the catalyst for that?
Yeah, that's a deep, huge question, because I've thought about this a lot. And like I was rebellious in school, so that was kind of like early, like entrepreneurial, signs that I was probably gonna do my own thing. Because I just like, if you told me what to do, I would just not do it because you told me to do it, even if I thought you might be right. Like I was very rebellious in that way,
right?
And that lended itself very well to entrepreneurship. And yeah, I was playing poker, doing my own thing. That led to entrepreneurship, and I've just always had a problem with authority. It just always felt wrong to me. And I don't know what the origin of that was. I've always kind of thought for myself enough to where I would ask questions. And you know how it is with parents, with teachers, they're like, because I said so.
Right.
Or they couldn't even answer the question. You're like, okay, that doesn't work in my brain. So that was an early sign. And then it was just like, one life event at a time, one book at a time, one, struggle at a time, as we all like losing family. I've had some major trauma in relationships that I've dealt with. I've been arrested twice for basically things I didn't do. I was arrested. I was the wrong guy or whatever. That taught me a lot about the state and about power and authority and these other things. Like, so it was just like, in retrospect, it almost looked like it was meant to be, but it's just life happening and then responding to life and then continually with the growth mindset, trying to grow, adapt, evolve. And then now, like my middle 30s, I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of who I am and what I believe. And a lot of it is based on those core principles that have been identified for thousands of years. Like the greatest philosophers of all time have talked about them, the Stoics, Nietzsche, and now it's more of just about finding peace and just not getting too wrapped up in the craziness of the world.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
That's huge.
Good.
Yeah. That's huge for sure, man. And I'm glad that you kind of threw it out there. I was going to ask. So we were kind of in the middle of doing almost like an entrepreneur series or set that we're trying to set up, and there's another reason why I wanted to kind of talk to you about that as well. But so here you are in you said mid-30s now. I don't know exactly how old you were when you started your business. I mean, the first iteration of it, right? Obviously a young person, but going into that, right? I feel, and talking to you, I feel that you're built different. You're built a little different than a lot of people, right? There's a lot of people who wouldn't have that initiative or that want to do something like that at such an early age. And even now, like I said, mid 30s, you're obviously living in some type of success, right? Your business is doing well. You're making those sales, and obviously you're still not done when it comes to that. But I mean, what do you feel it is about you that really sets you apart besides your principles, that makes you successful, like that puts you in that position to have that level of success that you're experiencing now?
Yeah, there's a few things, and again, it's easy to answer this question with things that sound good, but it's very hard to identify actual reasons why, because I mean, what am I supposed to do? Like go back to the last 35 years, 6 years of my life. Like, a lot of it is hindsight bias. A lot of it is recency bias. A lot of it is just a lot of different things that I can never, ever know. So I always try to get down to the principles. One thing for sure that I identified early on was the growth versus fixed mindset. And so Carol Dweck has a book written on this called, I think it's just called Mindset. And the basic idea is that a growth mindset is that you make the connection between effort and result. And so you know that if you want to get good at something or accomplish something, you just put in effort and you learn and grow along the way, right? Pretty much what you need to be an entrepreneur. You got to have faith and you got to believe you can do it.
Right, right.
The fixed mindset is, I was born this way. I'm not good at math. And so then what happens is you cut yourself off from even trying, right? And I'm telling you, like, I've seen people over the years, because I've been an entrepreneur since I was, 22 with my first business. And you have friends and family that are always like, oh, that's cool, man. I want to start a business one day, or maybe they come to you for advice or whatever. And I used to think that everybody could be an entrepreneur. I don't think that's really the case anymore. I think you do have to kind of be built in a certain way. Or though, there is a caveat. You have to be willing to do certain things. And most people are not willing to do those things, right? So it's hard to know, is it the chicken before the egg? Is it because you're built that way and you're willing to do those things? Or can you learn it if you decide you're going to do those things, and then you can kind of learn the skill of entrepreneurship? Everybody's got a little bit of both, for sure. It's hard to identify what that exactly is, though, but it's definitely, the growth for fixed mindset is huge with that. And I think the other way to answer that question is, for whatever reason, I'm willing to trust myself before anyone or anything else.
Right.
That makes sense. that is basically the foundation of my own critical thinking, my own thought, my willingness to say what I believe. And now, don't get me wrong, this took years to get here, because you grow up, like I grew up in the church, right? You believe in that. And then you're told what to believe, and you're told this is what happened. And like, so I went through that whole path. And then, you go to school and they say, you got to do this, you got to get a job, you got to go to college. And if you don't, you're a failure. I basically grew up believing that, because I never did well in school. So I was led to believe, by going through the system, that I would never amount to anything because I didn't do well in the system, right? Now, as I'm older, I'm like, I'm glad I didn't do well in the system, because I'd probably be in debt at a job I hate, not knowing what other options there are, not knowing that there is this amazing life out there where I can literally create my own reality.
Yeah, you've created your own system at this point.
Exactly. Yeah. And everybody can. I mean, again, I'm an internet baby, basically. I grew up, with the beginning of the internet, and like, it's been around most of my life, right? Now, I'm not talking about what might have worked 50 years ago. It's a completely different paradigm. But today, everybody can, at the very least, work for yourself. Maybe you could be a freelancer. Maybe you start an online business. Like, there's just so many ways to live today. And the old paradigms of like showing up to a 9-to-5 and clocking in, clocking out, and doing what you're told, like even just like going to college because that's the only way, that you see the decentralizing nature of these old power structures and how they're just kind of eroding away.
Right. I mean, so, even with that, my son is 10 now, right? And I was part of that generation that, you have to go to college, you have to get your degree, so forth and so on. Did it, have the degree, didn't find a job in my degree, right? So here we are, right? 5 years of college, student loans, the whole nine, and still don't have a job that's paying that back, right? And you come out with the greatest amount of debt that you could ever.
It's crazy.
I
mean, it's
right?
almost criminal.
Yeah, I mean, you're giving a 17-year-old $100,000, right? Wow, which is just crazy, right? At the end of the day, let's just picture that, right? Yep. But now, going through that, and even though I've heard all of those stories, my 10-year-old, I'm deciding, hey, if this is not what you want to do, then you don't have to spend that amount of money to go do it. If there's a trade, or if there's something else that you love, that you're passionate about, even now, if you want to get online on YouTube and do some type of video, we can do that, right? Because like you said, it's available. And so it's just changing that mindset and allowing yourself to think differently through this process, and not be status quo with the system, I think is definitely a plus. Yeah.
It's the greatest thing the internet has brought humanity, is the ability to erode those power structures. Like the government, corporations, institutions, they don't have a monopoly on the way, like information, truth, and the way things are done. They don't have a monopoly anymore. And that's actually why you see so much craziness in the world, because it's a sign that power structures of old are crumbling. And what do they do when they're crumbling? Like, why is the mainstream media just so insane at this point? Because they're just like grasping at clicks and likes and attention. So they'll just say anything at this point, right? So I look at it now, the last 2 years, going through the COVID stuff and going through like paying attention to politics a little bit, then realizing it's rotting my brain and then like going away and then like it keeps trying to come back in. I laugh at most of the crazy stuff that corporations, the state, and different countries around the world are doing. I legit find comedy in it now, whereas before it really kind of bothered me. I've had to kind of evolve out of that, where I just kind of laugh and I'm like, I got my passport, I got my Bitcoin, I got the Mexican border right here, I got enough gas to get there if I need to. You can't touch me. So like, I don't really care what you do. You can kind of play your political power games all you want. I don't need to waste my time or energy on it anymore. I have a plan. I sleep soundly at night and I'm just going to do my thing. Yeah. Right. But that takes time to kind of get there. I had to kind of evolve out of it.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure, man. And I think you're doing it, and you're doing it on a great level. But also that being said too, because you talked about a lot of things, man. You said, I wish we had a lot of time, because there's a lot of stuff I would love.
We can do a round two, maybe when the internet's working better.
Oh no, we definitely have to come back and round two on these guys for sure, because you have a lot of knowledge that needs to get out there and reach a lot of people. But one of the things I did want to kind of touch about when you're talking about entrepreneurship and having a plan and all those other things, it's very easy to look at you now and see a lot of the success. And I think that a lot of people look at that and they get a little deterred by that. But with the success that you have now, there was a lot of failures. So I don't know, I would like to kind of just see if you could elaborate. I mean, what were some of those failures that you came up against? Because it's not overnight. It does take time to get to where you're at. If you could just kind of give my audience a little taste of that.
Yeah, there's so many. It's like, where do I pick? I mean, some of the most obvious ones that come to mind are to do things as scrappy as possible, do things as much yourself as possible, learn along the way. I mean, I've wasted, easily hundreds of thousands of dollars on just like being too aggressive, launching too many products, like maybe having my eyes be a little bit too wide and like wanting to do everything now. I wasn't patient in some ways. I should have launched less products. I should have preserved my cash flow. That caused all these other problems. Then I ran out of my best sellers. Like then we have stock issues, if you really embrace principles, if you do things, if you test a lot. So experimentation and testing is massive, right? In business, you see people all the time. They want to debate about the best idea, the best route, the best this, but it's like, you can throw up an ad funnel on Facebook ads, spend like $500 and compare like this sales page to that, or that product to that. And then just let the data speak for itself. It doesn't have to be an expensive investment or whatever. For example, a friend of mine is working with this company. They raised millions of dollars. They paid somebody $10,000 to like choose their color palette for their branding. And it's like, I'm just like thinking to myself, you should have given me the 500, right? And then like given the 9,500 to a charity or something. Like it's like burning money. It just boils my blood when I see that, right? Because the thing is, when you have a lot of money, it's like the guy with a hammer. Everything looks like a nail,
right?
So you think you can buy results, but the market doesn't work that way. Which is why Silicon Valley is based on funding 100 companies and having like 2 that are ultra successful, and whereas most of them crash and burn, right? So when you are scrappy though, when you bootstrap, when you don't have money to just spend on ridiculous things, it forces you to be scrappy, creative, to learn from the data and to not delude yourself, right? So like, I would say probably the biggest thing for anybody that wants to do anything in entrepreneurship is get out there and talk to customers, test products for like as little money as possible. I mean, I was packing whey protein in my apartment, right? And then we were doing 1,000 unit runs with a co-packer, but it's like the difference there, you got to get up to that point. A lot of people look at entrepreneurship as, I need this much money or that many this or whatever. You really don't. You can literally create a product on your kitchen table, and you can go to your 10 friends or go on the side of the street and just give samples to people and just give feedback, right? There's so many avenues to do this, and that's in the physical realm. Digital realm, even more, because you can fire up an ad funnel and get actual attention on your product for super cheap, super fast, right? So being scrappy, experimenting, not lying to yourself, like looking at the numbers will never lie, right? Like the math doesn't lie. And if you lie to yourself by ignoring your numbers or by not tracking them, right? It's like people that I know that will never, I don't like saying never, but when you don't measure your finances, it's really hard to become financially free. That's another just kind of a financial tip. Like I know people that don't know how much money they make. They don't know how much they spend. So they literally at every month don't know if they're in the green or the red. And I'm thinking to myself, like, how are you going to build wealth that way? I know you want to be financially free, but you literally don't know if your business of you is losing or making money every month. It's insane.
For sure. Side note, because while you said it, I hope that it wasn't the numbers that killed my krill oil, was it?
It was because the market just isn't there as much, and there's a few other competition. Yeah, I mean the thing is, I can probably get some for you on like the DL. Like, I'll get some like custom order for you.
Dude, I'm telling you, I love the krill oil. I'm sorry,
It's a great product.
I'm being selfish by saying it, but yeah, it was a great product, and it's better than taking the 3 giant fish oil tablets. So, I'm sorry, I'm getting off topic here, but this is curious. But yeah, no. So, going back into what you're saying, so I think that the thing about it is I think that a lot of people aren't financially aware, and being able to have someone like you and being able to have someone that has done it, not just like, oh, I fell into a bag of money and I'm going to start this company, or my dad gave me this and I'm going to start this company. Like, you've experienced the ups and the downs, from beginning to where you are now. You're able to give that, and I think a lot more people need to see that and need to hear that, because there's a lot of people that don't have that knowledge, don't know where to start, don't know where to look, don't know, we're in the process of trying to work on something right now ourselves, and I would like to consider myself to be semi-educated in how to go about things, but even then, like, talking to you, I'm like, fuck, man, I don't know shit. Like this, like, here's this person.
That's good that you don't know. So
it's going through it.
Socrates, his famous line was, "I know that I know nothing," right?
Right.
Now, what would you guess is the reason that, the wisest man to ever lived, by some estimates, why would he say that I know know nothing? Like, why do you think that is? I'm just curious. I want to get your take on it.
Is there irony in saying I don't know?
That's probably the perfect answer, actually. It's because he knew the dangers of belief and knowing, because when you know something, when you believe something, you no longer have to investigate whether it is still true. Right? The only constant in the universe is change, right? You've heard the phrase, the universe is always in flux, constantly in flux, right? Because like the sun right now is dying. People don't realize that. Like in, some 4 billion years, it's just going to blow up. Heat death of the universe or whatever, right? So these things that we think are just static because they're always there within our short time frame, our short window of time, like the human life is just like a blip on the radar, right? It's utterly meaningless in the grand scheme of time and everything, right? We don't understand these things, and we get fixated on our biases and our preferences and all these different things. And so Socrates knew that he had to continually be attacking his own beliefs and his own ideas, because that's how you kind of get rid of the muck, and you can hopefully get as close to truth as possible. So I forget how that was answering the question, or what the original question was, but like, we need less certainty in our lives and in the world, because we can't predict the future. Things are always changing. More information is released every day on the internet than like all the information ever in the history of mankind. In that environment, certainty can kill you or hold you back or blind you to things right in front of you. Right. So it's just like a reminder to be humble and to not know anything, because that makes you the most open to see what's in front of you.
Yeah, I think I think that's the nail on the head for me. Is because it allows you to be vulnerable enough to see something that you've never seen, even though it's right in your face. We talk about hidden in plain sight. And I discussed that kind of in my meditation time, is like, reveal to me those things that are hidden from me because I've been unable to see them based on my own thought process or my own experiences, and how do we shift through the past hurt, feelings, disappointments, whatever they were, right? That have created this boundary now that I can't see past. And so that for me is the nail on the head, like I said, because it allows you to open your mind, free up your thoughts, to be able to change your perspective on something that has changed since you initially experienced it. You're right. It was an experience 20 years ago, but now you've created this foundation that you've refused to move off of because it hurt you or whatever it did to you, to get to this point. And I think it's important that we begin to kind of, look at the slate as a clean one, as opposed to the one that I've built so much energy into that I'm refusing to let go of.
100%. Yep. That's bias in a nutshell. Our biases and our perceptions, that's not reality. That is our interpretation of reality.
Right.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I mean, it's interesting. So many different viewpoints from so many different people. Yeah. Right. But then at the same time, small world, how people from that don't even know each other can share.
Right.
Certain truths come together.
Certain truths. Right.
Thoughts converge for sure, because there is a kind of objective reality out there. Like maybe we're in a simulation. Maybe like this is just a computer game, but even within this, if this is like Sims 8 or whatever, right? And we're just computer programs within the confines of this programming, there is certain rules, right? And certain principles. And what you want to do as a human, a fallible human with that brain that is evolutionary hardwired, not for modern environment, but it's hardwired for nature, for the wild, for small groups, for being hunter-gatherers, for basically being the dominant predator, killer, right? It gets all haywire in our modern environment for all the various reasons, right? So we want to combat that, stymie it as much as possible by asking ourselves, what is truth? What do I want to believe here? Because what I want to believe might be the opposite of what I should believe, or what is truth, or what is useful, what is not useful, right? I mean, the human animal is the most miraculous thing in the known universe, but with that, we're capable of the most horrific things in the known universe.
Right, of course.
Right?
Of course.
So to close that thought, there was something I remember hearing about. It was an early exhibit in a museum in like 1918 or whatever. And it said a plaque underneath a mirror. It said, the most dangerous animal in the world. And you stand in front of the mirror and you see yourself.
Right.
That's powerful.
Yeah. I mean, that's huge, right?
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, that's huge.
I do want to ask you that too. I know we're running short on time here, but to kind of get to the point of closing this out, I do want to ask you, what is a day in the life for you like? Like obviously you have this podcast going, you have this newsletter going, you obviously have a family, you have kids, you know, you're chasing the success, the stream, and everything that's going on. What does a day in the life look like for Colin, this entrepreneur?
Wake up between 9 and 10 a.m., usually because I hear the kids screaming downstairs. We have probably 4 sound machines upstairs that are going to try to drown that sound out. If you have kids, you don't have sound machines while you're sleeping, I don't know what you're doing, right? And blackout curtains too. Wake up, mosey downstairs, do my morning exercises. When it's sunny, I'm outside for sure. 20 minutes outside minimum, get that vitamin D in there, you know, especially in the eyes. Hang out with the kids for a little bit, play, do whatever. Allison's down there, she's making coffee, she'll do breakfast with them. I fast every morning. Every so often I'll like pick a little bit off what they're eating, but I don't really like eating in the mornings. And then I'm probably out of the house within an hour. I go to a local coffee shop. It's actually a trailer that's across from my office. Right now I'm in my office right here. I knew that when we moved back to the city, I needed an office outside of the house, because like trying to work at home just with kids is just not going to happen. So I make the investment. I have this here. This is like 100 square feet, not even 100. It's just like literally a room that I rent for $500 a month. But it's where I can do podcasts. It's where I can record. It's where I think I do most of my deep work. And I write, I read, I think early on. I get into usually doing the podcast. So that's like 10, 20 minutes. So I just kind of pick a big idea. I go at it. I edit that real quick, because I realized when I was recording a lot, it's really easy to hit the record button, but the editing process is the big bottleneck. So what I decided is every time I record, I have to edit. So like I just get it done right then and there, right? And then I upload that, put that into my system in Notion. My assistant, my podcast guy, he takes that from Notion and uploads from Dropbox. He does all the scheduling and everything. So it is pretty simple for me. I do a quick record, a quick edit, done for the day with that. And then 3 times a week, I'm doing the newsletter. That takes me about an hour. Then usually like after I've worked for a few hours, I have a break. So I will either break my fast then and or hit the gym up, some combination, sometimes gym, then fast, then break the fast, sometimes eat, then the gym. I play racquetball twice a week, lift a lot, sauna, steam room usually, and then usually at home between 5 and 6 p.m. And that's when I wind down with the kids until their bedtime. That's usually a couple hours. Work a little bit once they're asleep. Then Allison and I hang out, maybe watch a show, read, bed, repeat.
That's awesome, man. That's freedom right there, you know?
Yeah, and I can stop any day, and I can change it. So sometimes it changes here and there, but you know, what you'll find if you are a self-driven person, I forget the quote, but it's something like, show me a man with routine and I'll show you an ambitious man. Like routines are just integral, right? Like it's just impossible to get things done without routines. And so I feel weird when I don't get my early morning deep work routine in, you know, even if it's like an hour. If I just like read and write for an hour and I feel like I did something, then the rest of the day I can do whatever. Like I will probably never not do that the rest of my life.
That's huge, man. Well, Colin, man, I appreciate you. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and we can do this again and dive into some really crazy some crazy topics. We'll be real controversial, polarizing.
Oh yeah,
Next-
dude,
next-
totally. It's
next-
fun for me. This is part of my infinite game. I love chatting, podcasting, whatever. So
No, for sure, man.
we'll do it again for sure.
Yeah, if right now, if you want to shout out everything that you have going on, so everybody knows, this is your time.
Yeah, appreciate that. So the Better Human newsletter, right? That's kind of the hub where I have everything. That's the best place to go. You'll get the podcast there. You'll get links to like Wild Foods, like we talked about, and some other things I'm working on. That's at thebetterhuman.co. I'm on Twitter and Instagram, though I don't really care if you follow me there or not, because social media is kind of a joke. I'm pretty sure I'm shadow banned on Instagram. Like you can't even tag me in posts. It'll give you a warning sign. This user has regularly shared misinformation. You're not allowed to tag him. I kid you not. I'm in timeout. I'm in
That's
Instagram
crazy.
timeout right now. So I was like, I don't really.
Oh, he got shadow banned right here at the very end, right? They heard him and they cut him off. But there we go. We're back. We lost you there for a second.
Oh, they were.
Yeah, I think
Am I
we're
back?
good. We're back now.
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, we talk about being
Yeah.
shadow banned, and then you went.
Right, Zoom. They're listening.
Probably. No, that's awesome, man. I thank you so much again, and we will definitely be doing this again for sure.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What's going on, guys? Hopefully you enjoyed the show. We appreciate you listening for sure. But we need your help.
Yeah, we need your help. We need you to like, comment, and subscribe so that we can continue to make great content for you guys.
Yeah. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe.
And it's right here on the screen. Everything you need.
Right there. Thank you so much, guys, for listening.
All right, take care.